Should we get started? Hi, Pellen. Hi, Warren. Hi, Carol. So on our agenda, I'm thinking this can be a short meeting because I think, we had canceled our last meeting 2 weeks ago because Creative Discourse was still in the works of soliciting feedback and then reporting back to the City Council. They're not presenting to the Police Review Committee until July 1st and coming out with their more updated, they want to incorporate that feedback and then presenting to the City Council July 7th. And so I don't know if we have too much to report back, but then we have a couple of things cities opening back up. Are there more things to talk about for the Creative Discourse survey and results in City Council presentation, fundraising, recruitment, and other business, including these in-person meetings, as well as just checking in with our self-education learning roundtable and report backs from city committees. So does that, Cameron?
Just when we get a chance, the City Council canceled their July 7th meeting, so I need to reschedule with Creative Discourse.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
We have it on our internal agenda for the 21st, which I think is I'm looking at Lauren. I think that's the July meeting, right? Okay. Yeah.
Sounds right. Yeah. Cool. So anything else to change or to add from that agenda? I did a little out of order, so let me just reframe that. Self-education learning roundtable, report back, for public comment, all of that stuff. Report backs from city committees, Creative Discourse, and then kind of other business. Cool. Okay. Should we just do a round of introductions, check-ins, self-education, anything that you've been working on over the past month? Also looking at Carolyn and Carol here too.
Well, I'll go first just because I'm in a talkative mood this morning. I went to the Juneteen Celebration in Burlington, which was really great. And I'm happy to see that holiday is sort of moving northward. It's a pretty big deal in the South. And so it's just interesting to see how different sort of cultures, if you will, looked at that. I went with the assistant town manager from Barrytown, and we went to a lot of the learning panels and the education sort of side of things and less of the celebration things. So we really wanted to take away some learnings from that. So it was really worth it. Tabitha was there, who works for Creative Discourse, y'all know. So sat through her panel. It was really worth it. It was a really good trip. Lots to think about.
Thanks, Cameron. I can go. I just wanted to share back that Beth Synagogue in Montpelier had a congregational meeting, and at that decided to have a study group looking at honor tax, land tax to the Abenaki or other indigenous folks. And the first study group meeting was last night, and so it's still in the very early stages, but feels really exciting and new, and recognizing that a lot of other faith communities and other synagogues across the country are doing this. And so are scheduling a next meeting next month to look at what those other congregations are doing. And so if anyone knows of other things happening in the area, other faith traditions, not just in Jewish communities, would love to get connected.
Yeah, I can go next. I'm still, oh, sorry.
No.
Yeah, I'm still working, although it is summer. We have meetings and everything, so I don't do too much to self-education, but I'm reading a book for my job. It is like equity talk to equity walk, and it's about diversity, equity, and inclusion in higher education. And it was very interesting book because it says, I think it's the same with racism and other like social justice, other things we have been talking. It says equity is like a buzzword, like everybody is talking about. So higher education institutions are trying to create something, or it is really they believe it's the best thing to do for their institutions and for their students. So it is interesting to see that. I think it's the problem with lots of new concepts, right? It is coming and everybody's trying to fulfill their duty, but the question is, do they really believe the importance of these things like social justice, economic justice, and everything? So yeah, that's it. I just want to share this with you.
What was the book called again, so I can get it in the notes?
Equity, from equity talk to equity walk.
Cool.
I can send the name to the chat.
No, I got it.
the
Thank
full
you.
name. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say too that we did a book study group with a book, the Little Book of Race and Restorative Justice, and that finished a few weeks ago. Since then, we haven't done anything specific, and I haven't done anything specific, though one of my colleagues offers what she calls the Summer Institute, which is 4 days of workshops for educators. That's happening in August, and she invited Community Justice Center staff to attend, and Tabitha Moore is going to be there on the first day of their workshop talking about race and restorative justice. So we, all of our staff, all 4 of us, are planning to attend, and unfortunately we can't open it up to volunteers. But in any case, we're going to be doing that. So that's going to be another opportunity to connect with, someone about that. We're also working right now on motivational interviewing for our volunteers as a way to really, again, because we've done it before, to look at our process and the way we interact. And I'm looking at that as an opportunity for us to have everybody who's involved in that think about how, what are they bringing when they're asking the questions that they ask. So, it's really about helping a person find their own way forward to address whatever issues in front of them. But I want us to really be conscious of, whether we're bringing our biases and stigma into the process at all. So it's a way for us to really be examining our process to make sure that we are fair and equitable in how we do our work.
I can go next. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all. Yeah, I'm doing well in general. Really excited to be. I still have to work in the summer too, but we'll take a decent amount of time off with my kids and husband who's a teacher. So they're all off. So it feels like we're on summer vacation, even though I have to still go to work. But yeah, a lot of the work I've been doing for my day job, we've hired a group called Center for Whole Communities that I don't know if some of you have worked with, but they're Vermont based, although we're working with some people from around the country, but do a lot of diversity, equity, inclusion training and like deep work with organizations. So we had we've been working with them for like a year and just had our first in-person meeting with some of them a couple weeks ago. And it was, I know we'll get to later in the agenda about us getting back together in person, but it was definitely like a different quality and kind of conversation. And so it was kind of refreshing to have really probing and deep kind of reflections together and do it in person. It felt like a different kind of conversation and learning than you can get via Zoom. So, so anyway, that's been doing some good things there. And if I can think of any good readings or anything to link to, I'll put them in the chat. But nice to see you all. Thanks.
Carolyn, did I see you coming off of mute before? Yeah.
Let's see, I'm on the, oh, for lack of a better phrase, the Jedi or the diversity committee for the co-op. The co-op is focused on making it a more welcoming place to be, either as a shopper or as a community member or as a employee. So, of course, they're focused on different aspects of diversity. They have been working on getting a welcoming statement at the start. I think it'll be used at the start of each meeting, acknowledging the fact that we're on Abenaki land, and Chief Stevens gave them a statement to use. So I think they're going to accept that as one path forward. Another path forward is that they, for those who are interested, we could take a close to a semester-long course in Black history. And so I had already done a lot of Black history studies just because I wanted to know the backstory on what's happening today. And I went through the civil rights movement in the 60s and the rest of the stuff, but there's obviously a lot more to it than that. So that's been kind of interesting. And that's one reason I showed up here, was because of looking at the overlap, you know, that there are a number of people going in the same direction, and it's kind of nice to know what other people are doing. One question I have is, I don't know how much we've delved into the differing ethnicities in Montpelier. You know, like I remember years ago that there was a Bosnian community, but I never heard a whole lot about them, or, you know, other groups. There are Black people here. We have Indians from India coming and going, that kind of thing. So I don't know what the actual makeup of the city is, and I don't know that anybody has done that. Then the other thing I dabble in, that's not a good phrase, I'm on the homelessness task force, and then I go over to the housing committee as their representative. And of course, the big thing that they're focused on is the fact that we're going to have a number of unhoused people as of July 1st. And so that is a major focus there, is to how to accommodate that. But that leads into the bigger question of, even if there are housing vouchers and so forth available, there's no housing. So you keep getting these bigger things. You know? So that's what I've been doing.
Thanks, Carolyn. And just to, one of your questions was about, you know, how are we reaching out to different identity communities within Montpelier? And one of our goals for the survey that we've been doing with Creative Discourses was to get 10% of survey respondents to be from Black, Indigenous community, people of color, you know, community members, self-identified folks. And we got that, but we didn't, you know, we also were like getting paper surveys, and also we're looking at, you know, what surveys are we going to get translated to, like, have folks fill out in other languages. And I don't believe we got any paper surveys back or any requests for any translation. So I think we did, like, well, we hit that goal. We like didn't, you know, we know we didn't actually hit all of the communities that we were looking for. So that's, I think you're bringing in a great question that we've been thinking about and wrestling with. So thanks.
Well, won't the census report, when it finally comes out, will give us some sort of a broad picture of what the community looks like?
Yeah, Cameron, do you know the timeline?
I mean, yes, I don't know when we're going to get the survey result or the 2020 census, but soon, I would assume. Probably this year we'll get census data, and so that will give us an updated look at our demographics on a larger scale. So that'll be really useful and helpful, because we're all using what was it, 2006 data, 2000, I can't count. Anyway, it's old, so it'd be lovely to get an updated one.
Thanks. Michael, if you're safely driving and have service.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. Nothing much to report. I've been very busy with the police Review Committee. We're at the stage of writing recommendations, so almost all my attention has been focused on that. I did go to the Juneteenth celebration at the State House, and I was interested in hearing what folks had to say about the continuing problem of racism and not so hidden in some communities, more hidden in others. Other than that, I have nothing to report.
Thanks, Michael. Well, should we just dive right back into that? If there is more report back from the police review committee's recommendation writing process, or other city committee report backs. But Michael, while you're off mute, is there anything more there? And you are now muted if you are talking. All right. Other city committees? Lauren, did you?
Well, I can give a police review committee. Sorry,
Great.
Michael, that we can't hear you. Yeah, so we originally had a timeline of being done June 30th, but we had so much work underway that we asked council for a little more time. So now we're aiming for like an end of August timeline, but we are working through a series of recommendations. So basically people who are on the committee are bringing forward proposals to vote on, and we're doing preliminary votes. So I don't know if there'd be a concise way to share. We've got an agenda, which actually I could put in here, which shows there's like links to a bunch if anyone wanted to poke around in it, because it like links to a bunch of Google Docs where you can see the recommendations that have been voted on so far. So a lot of really good work that Michael's done a ton, so kudos to him and gratitude for a lot of the hard work he's doing. But a lot of things having to do with like training and looking at how dispatch works and who responds to what calls, and how working with the mental health providers and all kinds of things. So it's been a really interesting, and I think there'll be a series of recommendations coming out of it to council to consider that should be good, I think. So I'll try to dig that out while somebody else is giving another update in case anyone wants to dig in deeper. Michael, it sounds like we might be able to hear you now if you wanted to add anything.
Maybe
We
not.
lost you again.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Road to Rutland is tough.
Yeah. It's up and over one mountain into a valley. Okay. Sorry, Michael. Carolyn, anything that we should be following else from housing and homelessness, or Carol from MSEJAC? You gave a little bit, little updates before, but
The thing is the shortage of housing stock that's from the housing committee, and I think that's what the major focus is, that we pulled a lot of units out of rental, and they're being used as Airbnbs. And the other thing is, because of the shortage of housing, older families whose children have grown up and moved away aren't downsizing because there's no place for them to move. And that's why, even though the population of Montpelier has gone down, there's no increase in the available housing. It's because the kids moved off, this is dropped, and then the parents aren't moving. So there's kind of a gridlock going on there. And then from the homelessness task force, the major concern is dealing with the immediate problem of the unhoused, and things like what facilities and things will be afforded to them when their time runs out, which is July 1st. They're being given $2,500 in cash so they can continue to rent at the hotel until that money runs, you use it up. Some are moving into cars, some will be using tents. So the homelessness task force is doing things like putting together tents and whatever it takes to live out of doors for that part of the population. The other part of it is to make sure that they get fed and get appropriate medical support if they need it. So it's sort of emergency thing. There's a little longer term, which is you probably have read about Good Samaritan acquiring twin, I don't remember the last name of the motel, over on the Barry Montpelier Road, and that's kind of working its way through the permitting process and so forth. And so they're able to increase some of their beds. That facility will be a little bit more transitional, but you still have this immediate problem. And then if you can move the immediate problem into transitional, there's still no place for them to go afterwards. That you can give them housing vouchers, but there's no housing. And so there's kind of this cascading event going on that the homelessness task force is focused on. And the housing committee is to a certain extent. I mean, they're a broader scope. So you have not just the low income, you have, more moderate income people who also can't get housing. So it's a problem. And I think the housing group is focused on doing, they call them ADUs, but additional housing units. They're kind of looking at that as a way of perhaps increasing the housing stock. That if people, would put on a tiny house or would modify some aspect of their existing buildings to have another housing unit in there, they're looking at trying to incentivize that to increase the stock. So, it's difficult. But it's not unique to Montpelier. I mean, you're seeing this all over. So like today we'll have a meeting, and I think we'll focus on things like getting lockers so people can put the people on the street can put their possessions in there so they won't get stolen. There are a lot of aspects to dealing with it. And so at any rate, there's a lot of intense focus on dealing with that immediate July 1st problem.
Thanks, Carolyn. Any other city committee report backs? Cool.
Actually, so the council did just approve what do they call it? The public restroom committee to discuss public access to restrooms. And so that might be something that's interesting to this group, really talking about the equity of access and who it's for. So there is the application, they're taking applications now. We'll be looking at that. I guess we won't be looking at that to nominate folks until the 21st, but it's up and open if anyone is interested in sort of weighing in on that discussion. You don't have to join it to be present at the meetings, but I thought it would be sort of something up y'all's alley.
I thought it was funny that I've been focused on it from the homelessness perspective. So I go to my senior exercise class, senior meaning old ladies, and it's like, yay, they're getting bathrooms downtown.
Yeah, so is this proposed to be like a short-term thing or no, long-term?
They're looking for a long-term solution to this problem. Yeah.
Long-term solution. I guess would the committee just like look at getting bathrooms and then be a short-term committee? Is that?
Yes.
Like the police review committee kind of thing. Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah, bathrooms. I feel that way too. So
well, who got the poor tourists who come into town? It's like, really?
Cool. Because we're gonna get tourists again. Hey. Okay. Creative Discourse survey results and city council presentation. So I think as I had said just briefly, we were initially thinking that the presentation would be on July 1st. So just like reviewing over the updated report and presentation from Creative Discourses, but when we met last month, Keisha had kind of given the presentation and we had provided, oral feedback, and that, she is now going to be making that presentation to the police review committee to be able to incorporate their feedback, and as well as being, circulating it out to other folks who, participated in the surveys and interviews and things like that, and getting their feedback. And we were initially on this like really short timeline trying to get it all done by June 30th. And kind of with the police review committee being pushed back and like everything else, just that whole timeline has been, just totally thrown out of whack. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if I don't think there's any like update to, to share and to discuss here, besides maybe the July 21st meeting that's coming up. And so I don't, yeah, but that also feels really far away. And so, I guess, yeah, I didn't come prepared for what like my questions are here. Do we want to, instead meet before the July 21st meeting to review it again? Do we want to just dive right into the presentation to the city council? Like what, yeah. What is the next step here? Anyone has thoughts?
Will it be different than the last presentation they gave to us? If it will be same, then we can just listen to them, the real, not the real, but final presentation.
Well, hopefully they'll like incorporate changes from that workshopping, but it'll probably be pretty similar. I don't think that's I think why we wanted, in case there was anything like any surprising changes, based on other people's feedback or anything like that. But I don't think so. Cameron, do you?
I don't think it's going to be different, dramatically different, but I'd love if they could come to y'all's next meeting and present before, since that was the day they thought they were going to do it anyway. It'd be nice to give some time for feedback if we don't like, you know what I mean? If something, because last time there was some wording issues that were unclear that we asked for clarity for and that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? I mean, if they can't, they can't, but it'd be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be great. Like one thing I'm wondering, so, like they come to council, present, it would be great if we had some kind of, at least like, here's maybe not like, we're not gonna have time to totally like figure it out, but I feel like it like raises a bunch of issues, but doesn't really have solutions yet. And so it's like, what are the next steps from it? Like we can present all of this feedback we got, and then like, what's the plan to actually try to take actions based on it? Like there's some kind of clear ones, and then some that will just like, I think take a good amount of work to figure out, okay, how do we address this issue that was raised? And like, so I guess just thinking from like a sitting on council perspective, like what are the next steps? And like, it's not up to Creative Discourse to do that. I think it's our ball to pick up and move down the field, or whatever analogy you want. So I guess like that piece would be great if like we could have something prepared of like, okay, here's the next steps that we see, or even if it's just as simple as like, we're planning to take this and come out with some like specific, like concrete, actionable recommendations that we want to bring forward to council in the coming months or something. But I just don't want to like be like, okay, here's all these issues, and then like let it drop for like a few months or something. Like, how do we use it to build interest and momentum to get some things done?
To me, I always saw that we would try to get it in our strategic plan, right? Like we would look at their suggestions, put those as initiatives, and put them forward to you guys during our creation of the strategic plan this year. And here's what departments would be able to do what, here's the timelines we think it would take, where do you want to prioritize them? Here's the funding that we think it would take. So that's how I saw it, as like the next steps. And that's just me trying to think of how to operationalize this. That's how I saw that working. Do you have any, I mean, if that's not how I should be thinking about it, please tell me now. You know what I mean? Like that's how I was planning on presenting it, to how to build it out in what we do here to y'all as council.
I mean, I think that sounds great. I guess I'm trying to remember because it's been a while since I've like seen the presentation. I feel like my impression of it was like it raised a bunch of issues and didn't necessarily have like, and here's how you solve it. So I'm like, how much work are we putting on you all as city staff to try to like think through how to address a lot of the issues raised versus like some of like us or other committees?
And so I just pulled it up here.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
great.
just to
Yeah.
refresh our memory, because I know I needed to, because it's been a month. So like they did have these kind of like ideas for change that we
Yeah.
did talk about on the last meeting. So here, one sec. Can folks see that?
Yeah. So I guess a lot of
Oh,
them
I can
are
read them out loud
more-
briefly for Michael here as well. So it's like they have operational, so accommodations at meetings for people with disabilities, improve the website, conducting anti-racism trainings, keep remote meeting participation options, bathrooms, relational, improved communication and outreach targeted to underserved populations, acknowledging receipt of communication to city councilors, continue to learn what people need, structural, address housing issues and discrimination towards people experiencing homelessness, review and revise policies through an equity lens, hire more women and BIPOC staff for city services. And then there's, policing, which I'm going to skip over right now. Because yeah, so I think that's like the main pieces here.
Can I get a copy of this?
Yeah, this is the draft. And so just we're like, not supposed to distribute it widely, but I can forward this to you, Carolyn. Yeah.
So maybe Cameron, just seeing being refreshed on what they were, like obviously some seem like right up you and your team's alley to like have, like pretty tangible specific recommendations. So maybe it's like figuring out which of these, either there's, the homelessness task force that's doing some of that work, and like how are each of these, like what's the group? Is it you and your team, or is this something where it would be helpful to have MSEJAC help think through, or is there another city committee that's working on it, like the bathroom access? Now we have a whole committee.
Well, I think some of these are really, honestly, some of these things are outside of our capacity to do. They just really are. Like we don't do housing, we don't address housing, but we do have partners that do, right? So that'd be one that you would pass on to like the housing task force, which that's what I was thinking, is like who, you're right, like who would do what and how do we get that done? Ultimately though, even if it's something is given to committees, it's up to us to make sure that it happens, right?
Yeah.
So it would just be something I'd have to think through.
Yeah. And I just want to like make sure we're not just dumping on you and overwhelm staff to try to figure out things when if we have committees like and stuff that, or like who might have capacity to like be thinking through what are the actions that could come out of the issues that they lifted up.
Right.
So, which probably, is like a combination. Yeah, so I think that makes total sense. I don't know, how does that sound to you, Shayna? Like try to think through the right kind of lead for different pieces of this. I mean, assuming that city council, as Cameron said, would like put this kind of package as a strategic planning priority.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we can almost do that like right now, and this maybe is something that we could share back to creative discourses before the meeting, so that they, because I mean, I'm just looking at this, create accommodations for meetings with people with disabilities. We have an ADA task force, improve website. I think that's on staff, right? Like they're working on getting, working on website updates anyway. Anti-racism trainings, maybe that's something that MSEJAC can like be the accountable partner here, or creative discourse. Remote meeting participation options, that's on Cameron. Bathrooms, we have that committee. Improve communication and outreach, that's like, who would kind of be the person to hold that accountable?
Well, we are paying the capital area neighborhoods groups, the CAN networks.
Yeah,
that is something that we can work with them
on. City councilors to acknowledge receipt of emails and things. continue to learn what people need. I think that's CJAC and running this work and everyone. Housing and homelessness task force for those. Review and revise policies through an equity lens, and then hiring more women and BIPOC staff. Those are like hiring more women and BIPOC staff. That's on staff, obviously. And then the policies, I think that's, as a committee, we've been coming up with structures to support doing that. And it's just about, following through and holding that accountable. Does that all sound right? Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
a
I
lot,
think-
like that aligns a lot with my thinking on that, Shayna. Thank you.
And so should we just like connect with, I don't know if we as a committee need to connect with Keisha before, but I'm just like connect with, her before the presentation to city council to line that outline it. Yeah. Or,
Well, if we're meeting, hold on, let me pull up my calendar.
and I'm going to stop sharing so that I can send this to Carolyn real quick.
We are meeting the department heads and such are meeting with Creative Discourse next Monday, so the 28th. So all of my department heads and some staff are meeting with them on the 28th to go over these recommendations and talk about them. So that is, maybe if you don't mind, we'll as staff sort of talk to them about our capacity and where we see these things going. Because Keisha will be there. So we can take the ideas that y'all just shared and share it with them. Like, here's who we think is an appropriate person. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you want to see it all handled within staff, or you are comfortable with us saying committees do that work? They're better equipped to do that work. I think that'll it's an already scheduled time to talk to them about it. And then we as a group could come back together and talk about it on the 7th. Which is your next scheduled CJAC meeting.
How does that sound for folks? I'm just writing this down for myself. So yeah, the staff will look at this, come up with that plan for next steps, come back together on the 7th for that scheduled CJAC meeting with a proposed plan for next steps. And then if we do have any updated language from CJAC to look at that as well. Can I get a thumbs up or something? Looks like people are reading on their screens. So I'm like, I don't. Okay. Anything else there? Yeah, great. Thank you, Cameron. Doing the heavy lifting as per usual.
It's okay.
Did someone speak up? No, just while Cameron was coughing. Okay. Fundraising recruitment, other business, including in-person meetings. Oh, go ahead, Michael. You did speak up. Maybe? Lost you again, Michael. My goodness. Okay, well, just jump in and we will go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so this is a question for Cameron. We exchanged emails about the history page, and you were going to see if there's a budget, money for doing it. I haven't heard anything more, so I haven't done anything more. Can you fill me in on what your timeline is on that?
Honestly, Michael, I don't know what my timeline is on that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just don't know. We're still in a really big budget crunch, so I don't really have one. But maybe if we have, so I don't know. We can talk offline about that if you don't mind. Just, I know
That's
it's the
fine.
next step, but I just don't know.
Okay, that's all right. I haven't contacted any of the people that I mentioned, so I just wanted to know if it was still something that was on your on your radar anywhere, and that's
It's
all I
definitely
can
on my
say.
radar. It's just not something that I can pay for right now. So
Okay.
it might be pulling together as many free resources as I can.
All right. I'm content to let that go.
Well, don't let it go too far. I've got to have somebody keeping me honest, right? Okay.
And we may have lost you again, Michael. Sorry. Good. Okay. Okay, well, I'm gonna move us back to the next thing on our agenda and finish up this meeting quick. So for fundraising, for recruitment, for other business, we lost Michael officially. Got that real dead spot, I guess. Okay. I think we're still on pause for additional fundraising and recruitment as we figure out what is CJAC's role and responsibilities are in this next phase. So I think maybe July 7th, when we come back together, that will be more a piece of that agenda, or maybe, maybe August after the July 21st City Council meeting. Does anyone have anything to say about, fundraising or recruitment? Okay. And so then other business, including the city opening back up and in-person meetings. Cameron, do you want to, I don't know if you shared that email with everyone. So yeah.
Yeah, that was just, I just sent an email to department chair or committee chairs. So the issue is that now that the state of emergency is over, meeting purely on Zoom is no longer legal, really. And so that's why you see Montpelier City Hall Council Chambers here. So I have the doors open for folks if they want to walk in and participate that way. And that's legal and fine as long as both places are warned. So either folks are encouraged to come back in full or do this sort of hybrid model. But you can't be purely on Zoom anymore. We are opening fully back up all of our city buildings on the 6th of July.
And so, do folks want to make an intention of trying to start meeting in person, or can we do that? Do you want to continue doing this hybrid model? Maybe we'll say for the July 7th meeting, and then reconsider after that, because recognizing that things are going to continue to change.
And Cameron, is it, I guess I was assuming like we're going to try to keep some kind of remote option for a lot of meetings, or it seems like most of the committees I'm part of want to keep that, even if like the group's meeting in person, that people could still Zoom in. Yes. Or somehow, yeah.
Yeah, we have that laptop in the city council chambers, and we have some other laptops in some of our council committee rooms. Oh my gosh, what is the word I'm looking for?
Conference room.
Yes, thank you. I was like,
I haven't been in them in so long.
It's one of them, conference rooms. And so we have the ability to put up laptops, and a lot of our staff have laptops to be able to facilitate having a hybrid meeting wherever you want to be at. I mean, so it's up to you. This works fine. Like if this is something you want to do, I recognize, and I think this is an interesting turn. And I wonder, this is not like I've heard anything, but I wonder if laws might become more flexible in the future to allow things like this and not have to have a physical space open. But I don't know. It's not the way it is now, but this works fine. As long as I'm present or a member of the committee is present, if heaven forbid I ever take a vacation, then as long as someone is physically present at where the meeting has been warned at, then it's fine.
Great. Okay, so what I'm hearing is continue with virtual meetings, encourage Cameron to take vacation, and we'll continue the conversation as we move forward. Carol, did you come off mute?
I was just thinking about, we're going going to be going back to in-person meetings for our panels and our COSA teams. And we've already started meeting in person for our staff meetings again. Well, we never had done staff meetings, but we started doing. So I'm just thinking about the, what I think I heard Lauren talking about was the quality of the conversations that you have. So I think what it has to do with sometimes is the relationships that you're building when you're actually in person with other people. And believe me, I live an hour away. So the convenience for me to meet on Zoom is really helpful. But at the same time, I think that's really something to consider, especially if we're being sensitive to, an equitable and fair opportunity for people, because I think people respond in different ways and they need different things and they have different learning styles. So just something to put out there, if this committee is going to continue into the future, that there's consideration for that part of meeting. And, again, it's much more convenient to do it on Zoom, but I think those things are worth considering. And I'm not part of the committee. I sit in because I have an interest in this work, and when I'm learning about impacts, how we're going to keep doing our work, for the city as a department of the city. So, take that for what it's worth.
I almost wonder if, like, looking at agendas, if we should be a little bit flexible and be like, is this the kind of conversation where, like, in person it might be good, or like aiming for like once a month but not the every 2 weeks, like, some mix, as long as we're maintaining. I was also thinking, like, for the summer, I guess, just speaking for myself, I feel like I'm going to be in and out a lot. So I'm like, I love the remote option. Although, like, I'd love to like host a barbecue or something and have you all over and thank you for all the volunteer work you're doing, and like get to actually see you all in person. I don't know if like maybe something in the short term, like try to get together like once this summer in person, but keep doing remote for our week by week.
Yeah, we should have options. So hybrid seems better, I think, for lots of reasons. My other question, are we meeting once a month? What is the legal thing, or should we meet every 2 weeks?
Y'all can schedule whatever you want to.
Okay.
We have some committees that meet twice a year.
Okay. Because now work will start, right? And I will be teaching in person and everything. So I was wondering, how can I arrange my timeline? So we decide as a committee. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and we also set this 8:30 to 10 a.m. timeline like years ago at this point, being like, we know this time is stupid and does not work for a lot of people, and like it's what works for this crew. And so also recognizing, yeah, as we're inviting in, as we like transition to like doing the work and what that looks like and inviting in new people, like we might need to change our every 2 weeks at 8:30 in the morning and like make a different meeting schedule plan to make sure that our time and our space is more welcoming. So yeah, but we just haven't been prioritizing that. So what I'm hearing is July 7th, I'm like pulled out my calendar here. July 7th we'll meet in person, and not, oh my God, I can't do this. Okay, July 7th we're meeting on Zoom, and on our calendar is like review what the city staff have been working on and make a proposed plan for next steps. It'll probably also be a pretty fast meeting. And then on the 21st is when the city is the 2 weeks later, that's when the city council is meeting that night. And so we'll just kind of like make a final review and any like final last minute stuff there. I don't think we're inviting creative discourses to that meeting, but we can, if they're available. And then the next thing after that is potentially maybe have a not meeting in-person barbecue or something in the month of August. So am I capturing all of that? Cool. All right. Any other business? Or Cameron, yeah, you can off mute.
No, good.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you all. I don't think we really have much homework or like don't have anything to do between now and July 7th, except for Cameron, who has everything to do. So great. See you guys then. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.
Be back on Zoom.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.